Hi, so today I want to talk a little bit about belonging language. Now, what is belonging language? Because that's kind of an interesting term. What that is how we communicate and connect with others based on how we process information. Now, what happens is sometimes we can have vows and narratives or traumas that can impact those communications. But when we know who we are and how we process information and we're working on being healthier, we can then know what we need, we can know what the other person needs, and we can navigate situations better. So I'm going to tell you about a conflict that happened to me, and I really want to break this down in a way that is honoring to me and the other party. And I've been trying to figure out how to do this in a very skillful way because I don't want this other person to necessarily look bad. I don't want to look bad. I just really want to be skillful in how I explain this. So for me, where we were the opposites at that had a little clash was I like to follow rules and structures. And when I say something, I keep my word for the most part. I'm really good about that. That's important to me is integrity. That's how I live my life. The other person's more about pleasing people. They just want people to be happy and they want to please people. Where we line, where we're the same in, is we're both about cost versus benefit. But when one person sees things as a cost and one person sees things as a benefit, that can cause a conflict. So I'll tell you the story. This person said, I want to do this kind of work and I'm looking for references. So will people do this for me? Can I do this work for you in exchange for references? And I'm like, yeah, I'd like that. And I'll give you a good reference if you do a good job. They flaked out. And so we ended up talking. They started getting clients. Now I can see why they flaked out. And so I said, okay, well, I understand that's why, there's a project I'm really needing done and I will pay you for that project. Well, instead of them telling me no, they decided to insult me. So there were a couple of things I asked for. I gave them information of how to be able to access things for the project. I did not give them a deadline. And then I said, I just want to know what's going on. What's the plans around that? And can we have a contract? They then tell me I am demanding and commanding more than their clients who are paying more. Now, if I told you what I'm expecting of this person, you would look at me and go, they wanted what for what you were asking? Yes. And so I said, I'm looking at them going, are you treating them differently than you're treating me? And the projects are different. What I'm asking you to do is not that hard and not that much effort. And if you don't want to do it, it's okay. You just need to tell me. So this tells me that they're seeing what I'm asking them to do is more of a cost than a benefit, and they cannot communicate that, and they want to please me. So they're going into the victim predator rescuer triangle, and they think if they kind of in a roundabout way insult me, I'll release them. But then they can't look bad. They can't look like the predator. So they'll try and find another way to, change the situation. On top of that, they told me they were more of an expert than me and that I wasn't really an expert in my field. So they weren't going to listen to me. They've been doing this for about 2 months. My undergrad is in business and conflict resolution. My master's in workplace psychology. I've been doing what I've been doing for years. I'm okay if someone tells me I'm not as much of an expert as they are, if they have the experience. But 2 months to years? Really? So after they were done insulting me, I left and I thought about it. And I said, I am not holding them at all to this at all. This is too much of a cost than a benefit for me. They're telling me it's too much of a cost than a benefit for them. So we're releasing them. I sent them a text saying, I understand what you said. I listened to you. And you don't have to do this. Let me know if you're going to give me what you already have or if you're not. They wanted to argue with me over what they said. And I just repeated it. Let me know if you're going to give me what you have or not. It was crickets. Crickets after that. And I'm sitting here going, you choose not to communicate with people and then tell them they're demanding and commanding when you refuse to communicate with them. So you can be the victim. On top of that, you're telling your clients how to manipulate you, and you're using those words. This is how you can manipulate me. And on top of that, you're telling me that your time is more valuable than my time. See, I'm going to tell you another aspect is when people have worked with me, you know what they usually tell me? Spending a half hour with you is like spending years in counseling. You have been able to solve my problem within a half hour. And I'm not a counselor. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to personality, the victim predator rescuer triangle, belief, all these things. I've researched this for years. I know what he's speaking. I know what I'm speaking. I can pick this up fairly quickly because I've done the research on patterns. I also know what's going to happen down the road if this stuff doesn't get taken care of and he doesn't learn how to work with his needs languages skillfully. And he keeps wanting to go in the victim predator rescuer triangle and bring people in there with him. I am not participating in that triangle. I'm walking away and I'm wishing him the best. And I've already found someone else who can do it for me. That wants to take that money. I've already found somebody. I'm okay with that. And so this is what I'm talking about when conflicts happen. How can you get out skillfully? How can you navigate that? And how can you do it in a way where you're not insulting the other person, but you're noticing what's going on and you're noticing that there's a fracturing and there's harm there. And you know where you're strong at. You also know the weaknesses around that strength. And you know where that person's strong and you also know their weaknesses around that. So let me talk a little bit about me and the when I'm telling you about like in rules and structures. That part of me can be very rigid and just very like toe the line, people. Come on. And I have to really be aware of that and let things flow a little bit more. I know that about me. And so I work really hard about that. That is something I work really hard on a day-to-day basis because I know I'm like that. The other thing, when I feel a cost or a benefit and I go into that, I know I struggle with indecisiveness. I know I'm going to struggle with if this looks like a benefit to me and it's really a cost, I might miss it. I know that about me. You see, if this person would have been able to evaluate themselves, they would have seen things differently and they wouldn't have had to go into the triangle. And this is why I talk about this. The triangle is not helpful for anybody. The edges are pokey and they hurt. So I hope that this was helpful for you. And if you want to learn more, please reach out. This is amazing stuff. I can't tell you how helpful this is, not only for me, but for others, and how I can walk away and process this and not have biases or judgments and just say, oh, this is so sad, and I wish him the best, and I hope he heals. I hope he heals. On that note, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.